The United States Supreme Court decides to eliminate affirmative action inside of higher education. This is just the beginning. Let's put up the picture full mass. The individuals who were in charge of this decision. The Supreme Court now says that colleges and universities can no longer take race into consideration as a specific basis for granting admission. A landmark decision overturning long-standing precedent that has benefited Black and Latino students in higher education. Affirmative action, ladies and gentlemen, has also benefited white women. I will get into that momentarily. Let's put up how the vote broke down. SCOTUS rules against affirmative action in college admissions. You have your majority opinion and your dissent. Majority opinion and the dissent. The dissent makes way more sense than the majority opinion. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the opinion for the conservative majority, saying the Harvard and University of North Carolina admissions programs violated the Equal Protection Clause because they failed to offer measurable objectives to justify the use of race. He said the programs involve racial stereotyping and had no specific endpoint. The majority opinion claims that the court was not expressly overturning prior cases authorizing race-based affirmative action and suggested that how race was affected, has affected an applicant's life can still be part of how their application is considered. But even if the court did not formally end race-based affirmative action in higher education, its analysis will make it practically impossible for colleges and universities to take race into account, as the 3 Democratic appointees stressed in their dissent. Let me give you the statement from Justice Clarence Thomas, who has benefited from affirmative action his damn self. In a lengthy concurrence, which isn't even necessary, Justice Clarence Thomas, the second Black person to join the Supreme Court, spoke in unusually personal terms as he criticized the use of affirmative action by colleges and universities when which he described as rudderless, race-based preferences designed to ensure a particular racial mix in their entering classes. Let's go to statements for Justice Jackson. In her own dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson accused the conservative majority of having a let them eat cake obliviousness in how the court's affirmative action ruling announced color blindness for all by legal fiat. But deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in life. She said, joined by the court's 2 other liberals. Justice Jackson wrote that the majority had detached itself from this country's actual past and present experience. Now understand, the majority opinion is the opinion of those who will say to anyone wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt, all lives matter, as a rebuttal. But see, if all lives matter, we would not need a campaign that said Black Lives Matter. You see, there's a correction required in the context of understanding the now. The court has provided that routinely. Sometimes they have failed, other times they have offered to remedy. There's more. No one benefits from ignorance, she added. A footnote in her dissent went after the majority concurrence by Justice Clarence Thomas the only other black justice on the court, his opinion also demonstrates an obsession with race consciousness that far outstrips my or UNC's holistic understanding that race can be a factor that affects applicants' unique life experiences, Jackson added, saying that his concurrence ignites many more straw men to list or fully extinguish here. The takeaway is that those who demand that no one think about race, a classic pink elephant paradox, refuse to see, much less solve for, the elephant in the room, the race-linked disparities that continue to impede achievement of our great nation's full potential, the footnote said. In her broader dissent, Justice Jackson said that the argument made by the challengers that affirmative action programs are unfair, quote, blinks both history and reality in ways too numerous to count. Conservative groups' efforts in overturning affirmative action challengers in the case targeted Harvard and the University of North Carolina, arguing that their programs violate equal protection principles, dashed the promise of a colorblind society, and discriminated against Asian Americans. They were targeted, I'm saying this personally, they were targeted by way of strategy. This is why they used this strategy. They asked the court to overturn precedent and insist that higher education should explore and further develop race-neutral alternatives to achieve diversity. Race-neutral alternatives to obtain diversity. A conservative group, Students for Fair Admissions, was behind both challenges. Now I want you to look at the data. I'm a college professor. So right after this ruling came out, we had a major administrative meeting. And in this administrative meeting today, we looked at the variables that exist currently and what may exist in the future. While it is bad today, it can be worse tomorrow. Let me explain. Right now, the colleges that are absolutely affected by this particular ruling are going to be colleges that have competitive entry. Over 90% of colleges in America for undergrad studies, they do not have true competitive academic allowance, meaning that for the most part, those who apply, as long as there's room, you meet the bare minimum requirements, you get in. There may be some level of 099 curriculum required, but you can get into the institution. However, this goes beyond just the institutional dynamic. But look at the hypocrisy of this. How can affirmative action be deemed unconstitutional, but no one has brought up legacy students? Students that have provided nothing more than the fact of who their mama and daddy is. Oh, that's just fine. Nobody's dealing with that. Let's go beyond universities and colleges. You see, this strikes at the very core of what they've been attempting and successfully doing for a few years. You see, when Trump was running for president the first time, and he said, "Make America great again," he was president for 4 years, attempted to execute this particular plan, this particular methodology. He did not have the discipline to do so. But you're seeing exactly what they were referring to now. Florida passing laws making it basically illegal to be a protester and to be an activist who inconveniences somebody else. If you make white people uncomfortable in Florida, good luck. You may get your business license snatched. If you are an educator, you now are restricted on what you can teach as it relates to race in the United States of America. It goes on and on. When is this going to stop? It doesn't. until you put the right people in office, until you yourself go and run for political office, until we transform the actual policy dynamic by way of the people dynamic. This does not stop. It only continues. So now this ruling prepares the next one. What is the next one? Outside of the institutional walls. All right, dear brother, ruling just came out. A lot of people are still trying to fix their minds around the fact that America has gutted affirmative action inside of institutions of higher learning. What say you?
I'm glad you brought up legacy admissions, because that proves for white students, it was never really about merit. And I want to add to that, there's also children who are children of donors, faculty, and staff. Colorblindness was never the law of the land in this country. I guess we're supposed to believe that, I don't know, 45 or 46 presidents, 73% of current Congress, and 97% of the Supreme Court justices we have in this country weren't selected because of their skin color. So we know what race neutrality is, and we know who it's going to benefit. It's going to benefit white people. You don't have to have merit in order for a lot of these institutions in this country to be primarily and majority white. That's what I think moving forward.
Right. We will bring you updates as they come, but please understand this ruling will have the effect of the first domino falling. The intent of the group who brought these cases was not simply to eliminate affirmative action inside of higher education. It was to set the platform, the groundwork to go beyond that. And that becomes the fight tomorrow.